Network connections. Hopefully. All right. Decide what we're working on today. Crack a cold Sprite. Get the tools a little bit organized while people join. I think it'd be fun to break into this. Woo! Nice big piece of chert. Got some others, but they don't look better or worse. So I think maybe this one will be the one. And we'll start with this larger bopper here. So this is a nice big piece of Georgetown chert. Very nice stone to work with. This white stuff is called Cortex. We don't want that. I've got to get rid of all of that. Work my way around the edge, knocking off flakes. Start to thin the piece, but also to just get rid of that Cortex. It is not going to be part of the final tool. It is not suitable for tool, so it's got to go. It has got to go. Boom, you see that? And then all that stuff, that big old flake, it was one big flake that just smashed into several smaller ones. But that allowed me to clear off that bit right there. And the other thing that did, so I hit right here, it knocked off that flake down there. Right? Now, so this is where the new flake is. If I flip this over, you see how that's now a low spot? I'm always hitting on a low spot on the edge. And there's also a ridge. See this right here? So, hitting on a low spot with a ridge underneath it sets me up for a good thing. Hopefully a flake that comes down like this and around. Basically follows that ridge, that line. Just going to take a couple small hits to take off a really thin edge because it needs to be strong to carry the force. But I'm going to hit right here and hopefully it takes off a big chunk right there. Ready? Here we go. Let me do it again. Boom. Well, all the flakes broke, but it did it. See this? Now we have a new flake scar. It just took off that piece right there. And it even went down here. So that's really good. So I got rid of this white Cortex, which is just chalky and soft and junky. And took off that high ridge. And started to clean up this this side. Got rid of more of the Cortex. So, as before, though, so I hit that low spot. This is still kind of a low spot. So I could line up right here and take off more. So I think I'll just do that. Super simple. Just move over a smidge and take another flake. Boom. You see this one now. That's the one I just did. Now, this is no longer a low spot on this edge. If you look kind of right in the middle. So what I'll probably do is flip this over. And this is a low spot. Always hitting on a low spot on the edge. Here we go. We took off this bit right here. Nice big flake halfway across. Yeah, totally. Which is good because that means when I come this side, I can get all the way across the surface. You need to get all the way across the surface if you're going to make this thing. If you're going to make this chunk into this, you need your flakes to be long. They have to be long flakes or you'll never get there. You'll never. All right, I'm going to go for right here. So you get the concept right here. That's a low spot. and hopefully take out a flake right there. Once again, I'm gonna braid that a little bit. If you're just joining me, my name's Doug North. I like to make and use and appreciate items from the past. Today I am flint knapping, which is the very, very ancient art, one of the most ancient human arts, in order to make stone tool. Here we go. As predicted, nice big flake right there. Let's see, still a low spot over there, so I'll probably just, well, actually I'm gonna found. So I did that one. Now I'm gonna come at it from this way, right? This is actually a little too low. I know I just told you that you always want to hit a low spot, and that's true. But if it's too low, then the force will just break this edge right off and the flake won't travel underneath. So I just trim this up a little, even do a little more to make it stronger. So when I give it a good hit, that flake will carry and be nice and long. When people first start doing, they really struggle with that. They wonder why all their flakes are short, and they wonder why the tools that they're making are really big and fat. They don't look very, they look like this or something. It's like, this is a legit design for a very ancient primitive hand axe, but the goal is to make something like this. Well, then you need long, thin flakes to make this piece thinner. Oh, I'm sorry it's so laggy. I'm working on that, but I don't know what to do. I've started an axe head. This axe head in chert. So I flint knap this, and next up would be grinding it. But I'm not going to grind it on a live stream. It would just be like watching paint dry. Just like this for an hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. So, but yeah, I've started this one right here. I'm so bummed it's lag. I'm hooked up to an Ethernet cable. There must be something that I do not know. What a bummer. But thank you for letting me know, Goob. I appreciate that. Don't know what to do. Well, maybe I could turn my... Oh, very much, Goob. That's really good of you. I'm going to turn this stuff back on. Maybe it'll help. Oh, so frustrating. I don't know what I need to do to make this connection better. That is a huge bummer, folks. And I apologize. I've tested the connection speed here. I've got like 30 megabits up. I don't know why it should be so bad, but it is at times. I'm well set up for a hit right here. You see this nice spine? Oh yeah. And this low point right here, hit on the low point, the force will travel along that spine, and we'll see how much of that I can get. All right. I wonder if I should make out the really big billet. Nah, I'm gonna stick with this one. Got to decide how far in to the piece to hit. If I go right on the edge, I'll make a small flake. If I go further in, probably make a big. But if it's not adequate, it'll end abruptly, and I'll give myself a problem. Here we go. Yeah, tiny one. Let me give that another shot. Yeah. Oh, it was really long. Came all the way down to here. So we got that part. This whole thing. Yes. Wanderson, I remember you. I remember you're from Brazil. Welcome back. And look at that. Sharp, sharp flake. Woo! So sharp. That was a very satisfying hit. Oh, I did get a little weirdness right here at the very end. but I'll be able to hit from this direction and get rid of that. Actually, I'm going to do that right now so that that little weird divot doesn't persist and cause me problems down the road. Oh, look at that flake. This is big enough to work into a tool if it's on its own. Look at that, for sure. Set that aside. Put that in the keep pile. I did get a bit of a hinge here. That's a bummer. Abrupt break. That's not good, but I'll be able to work on that. Wonderson, this is called Georgetown Chert. This isn't good, but we're so early in the game. I'll be able to knock that off. So I'll come at it from this way. I got a bunch of ways I can still come at it and try and get rid of that. In fact, I can hit here and try to take this off. I think I'll do that. There we go. I got rid of a lot of it. See that? I might leave it at that from that angle for a while. Okay. I got the giant hand axe here. Not a very sharp one. Duolingo. I've heard of it. I don't know what it has to do with with this, but yeah, I've heard of it. Okay, let's see. It's a little wonky, and see this from this angle. See how this is like a right angle? That's got to go. The right angle is not approachable. It's not. I can't run flakes from a right angle like that, so I've got to work on getting rid of that. So I'm going to start up here. So here's my right angle I got to get rid of. And yeah, that's what Duolingo does. I can't do it here and now. I'm flintknapping. I'm not sure what you're suggesting, but so I hit there. Now I've got a loose spot. If I flip it over and I can work this way, I just got rid of this piece and I can flip it over and go that way. So you see, here's my right angle still, but all of this now is workable edge. I just got to continue that process down this whole side. There. And now I'll flip it over again. And there. See, this is all I have left of that right angle. There. So that right angle that was along here, it is now gone. And you can see this very typical wavy edge. This gives me opportunities to hit the stone anywhere there's a low spot. And if I flip it over, I've got a whole different set. This is something you should look for. If you're out there looking for stone tools, or if you're wondering, if a rock and you're wondering, is this something that a person made? If you see this wavy action, and these flakes like this on both sides, that's an artifact. That's something a person made. Now, the scale can be very different. This is somewhat smaller, but you can still see that wavy edge and the flake scars. See? So you can tell it's an artifact. It's not, you may not be able to tell from the shape. Often the shape is indicative, but or maybe it wasn't finished, or maybe it's a tool that's not familiar to you. But if you see this, a glassy-like stone, flake scars, and in particular, that wavy edge, that's a pretty indication that it was something made by a person. But we've got ourselves the start of a big old biface here. I got a little bit of extra mass up here, which I'll probably have by taking some smaller flakes. See, so this overhang here. Trim it up a little bit. There. All that extra mass is gone. Welcome, everybody. If you're just joining, my name's Doug North. I like to make and use and appreciate items from the past. So today I'm flintknapping. This is the very ancient art of making stone tools. Here's a dacite biface or knife that I made some time ago. And I'm sort of working on something like that again. Now I'll abrade the edge a little bit. It's a very important step. It seems good. It doesn't seem like it has anything to do with hitting flakes off, but it does. I've still got some bits of cortex. See this white stuff? Weathered outer portion of the rock. And it's very crumbly and soft. Does not make good tools. Got a little bit over here too. So I will try to get rid of that. Let's see. So I always hit. If you want to get rid of something on this side, you have to hit from the opposite side. So I'll hit here and I'll come off from down below. Like that. Pick up the flake or what's left of it. So this flake, I just hit right here, boom, and it took off this right here. Now you can start to get a sense why that edge is wavy. This stone is really big right now, so I'm using a really big tool and using a lot of force. So the flakes are really big. But as we continue, the flakes will get smaller. You can see the flake scars on there, or you know, on an arrowhead or something. They're very small. They're tools, and even a different method, which is called pressure flaking. So initially, you use what's called, like drumming is percussion. I'm hitting the stone to make the flakes. But at this point, because it's big, I'm using the big tools and hitting. This is called a copper bumper. In prehistoric times, they would have used antler or stone. Do I have a stone? Yeah, I do. A hammer stone. So in prehistoric times, they would have used this. And you can see all marks on here from when I've used it. That's another way. That's a way to tell if a perfectly round stone is an artifact. See, all those little dimples are where I've used this to hit flakes off of other rocks. So I could do a flake or two for you here. Boom. And that's right there with the hammer stone. Actually, that felt kind of good. Some little flakes just to clean up the edge. Make it a little stronger. Get rid of the really thin stuff. And, oh, I'm going to switch back to the, oh, I can use the antler tool for you too. So let's say I want to take a flake right here. Boom. I've only got part of the flake, but this one right here. That was done with this. This is part of a moose antler. Hey, Donnie, no way, dude. Donnie, I don't think I want you to watch. You know what you're doing. I get on here every time and I explain that I am not a master. I refer to myself as a beginner. But if I can help people along a little bit, share knowledge and maybe my passion, well then maybe I can justify doing this. I appreciate you tuning in, my friend. That is very cool. For those of you who have logged on, check out the account Donnie Dust's Paleo Tracks. Those are videos you're going to want to watch if you're interested in this stuff. He is really good at this stuff. So I'm using copper boppers mostly. I ran into a bad issue with tennis elbow, and these seem to be helping. Now I'm all nervous, man. I shouldn't be. But this has been a fun journey, but I found a really challenging one. A lot of things to know. It seems like a straightforward endeavor, but there are a lot of things to know. Yeah, we do, don't we? I mean, I know you get this, but this is one of the oldest human crafts that we know of. Probably one of the very oldest that is. And it just blows my mind that you can sit down in your backyard or in your workshop or wherever you are, and if you've got, the right rock and the right tools, you can go through the same process that people have gone for hundreds of thousands of years, and in more elementary fashions, even millions of years. I mean, it's just, I don't even know what to say. It just blows my mind. All right. So, see this? As I've mentioned, we want low spot on the edge. So if I'm looking at it this way, low spots. And also we got a ridge here. So this gives me a good indication. And also this is kind of convex. So with all those things set up, a good indication that if I whack this right here, folks, that I'm going to get a flake down here. And it's that process over and over in scales that allows us to shape these things. I got some of that. So, as predicted, right there, right? And that's what came off. And I like to point out that these things that are coming off and that I'm, letting drop to the ground. Thanks, Donnie. These are tools in themselves. This is sharp. So, even though I'm letting them drop to the ground, when these were the only tools that people, this would have been valuable. This would have been useful. The things that, I'm making like this, it's almost a bit more of a saw, whereas is how you might think of using a knife these days. So very sharp edge on something like that. Let's do a little demo, shall we? If I can find a piece of leather that's not too small and scary. Here's one. So, that is thick leather. That's cowhide. Can your knife do that? Maybe, but maybe not. So these are tools in themselves, and also a piece like this is, this is big enough to perhaps make an arrowhead out of. Set that aside. But if you're ever wondering, were stone tools sharp or were they just, were they just bashing stuff? No, they were sharp. They were sharp. So that was that big flake right there. So it's that same. This side is more convex right now. This side is more flat. So this side is probably where I'm gonna work. A couple of reasons. Just to take off mass, and also this convexity gives the force somewhere to go. If I hit on the flat side, it wants to go in, but then it doesn't have any rock to move through. And that can lead to problems, step fractures, you know, a fracture that ends abruptly and creates a right edge, which then you got to kind of work with and work around and fix. So if we stay with the convex, taking that stuff off, then that's a little less likely to happen. Part of my journey right now is, is constantly fixing those. But as I'm getting fixing those, and now the next step will be getting better at avoiding them in the first place. Here we go. Right? So there's that hit on a low spot, and it takes off that flake like that. And it's just, I think it's so cool that they like fit right back in there. Whew. This heater is, whoo, I'm gonna turn that off. So that opens up opportunities over here. I think I'll do that. I might just trim this a little bit. Like a braiding, get the edge strong enough that when you hit it, it doesn't just crush and crumble. So I need to make this actually a little bit more blunt by trimming using that abrader so that when I hit it, it's strong enough to allow the force to go in, not just crush. So it's kind of counterintuitive that to make something sharp, while you're working on it, you have to constantly make it dull. But it's really important. The preparation of your hits is quite important. Little flake there. That was a better one, but they all broke into a million pieces. So Donnie, you see I do a lot of talking, so it's not like I don't blast anything out, because I do a lot of talking, and you know, it definitely slows me down. My attention is like severely divided, but I've been enjoying doing these live streams, and it seems like some folks have been getting something from it. Okay, just scoping out where I want to go here. Well, what I'm going to do is get a slightly smaller tool and just kind of trim. All right, so you see I've got this wavy edge. I'm going to trim this a little bit. And what that'll do is it'll take this line, this wavy line, and it'll bring it this way. And the way I'm holding the stone, it'll bring it up. So then when I flip it over, it'll all be lower. Just a little bit lower. So then that'll set me up for some good hits. I don't have to do it, but it just feels like my eyes at this point. And you'll see me do this a lot later on. Okay, so I took a lot of little flakes down here, right? So now when we flip this over, eyeball it from the side, this line is now lower down. And that's good. That's something I need. And also, it's less, the amplitude of those, you know, peaks and troughs aren't as much. so that my tool won't run into, say, if I'm low spot, it won't bump into a high spot. So we've changed where the line is, made it lower. We've made it a little bit more blunt, and my tool won't run into different spots. You can tell from the sound when you get a good flake. There's just sort of this sharp crack. I have no idea if it carries, over the feed, but over here, I can tell from the sound when one comes off well. So that something so bizarrely satisfying about this. You know, if our ancestors, even our pre-human ancestors, were doing this, you've got to wonder if that's enough time for it to wire into, our genetic code in some way. If there's an element of instinct, because it's just so profoundly satisfying to make a good flake. I don't know. That's a lot of speculation right there. But, man, I do love it. We are such consummate tool users. You've got to wonder how deep that goes. Pretty deep, I bet. All right, thank you for stopping by, my friend. I'm very flattered, and I truly appreciate it. Hope you have an awesome day here. I hope to catch up with you soon. Look at that. So I think you folks are seeing how this goes. I work along one edge, flip it, work along another, then flip on, and repeat that process. Now I've got this is a bit of funkiness. I got some extra mass in here that I would like to get rid of before I run into any problems. So this was a big flake, came down this way. I probably didn't use enough force or was too ambitious. And basically what happened was that it ran out of energy and caused, it's called a hinge. So it's an ending that doesn't feather out to a super thin edge. And that's left me with this kind of this lump right here. And also the mass changes a lot, like the thickness, I should say. So thin, 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 and then, oh, there's a bump, bigger. So if this line and this mass are both things I want to get rid of sooner or later. I'll probably take some more flakes off from this side. Then when I flip it, that will be my opportunity to clean that up. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So you see how I'm working a few steps ahead. I've made a problem for myself inadvertently. So now I know this. But if I set up to do that, I can see this surface is too high. This line is too high. I'm more set up for taking hits this way. So I'll do the set this way, flip it, do the set this way to hopefully get rid of my little issue. It's like a game of chess or something. I don't know, not exactly chess, but you're definitely working a few steps ahead. Here, we took that off right there. The one right next to it. So it was this one, but then this flake goes over it. Right? So this cuts into that one. To a certain extent, you can tell which flakes were done first. So at least in this case, we can tell that this flake scar, really, is over that one. So I took as a later hit. That's if you're doing a little bit, detective work on a piece that you find. You can sometimes, kind of work out the order of operations a little bit. Okay, so I took those flakes off. So now, when I take a look at that area, It's better, but this is still a little too high. Take some deliberate small flakes off in order to change that edge up. So when I flip it over, it's down. I know, it's repetitive, but it's these principles that really make possible preparing each hit. I'll braid that edge and I'll show it to you. Okay, so I took lots of little hits, just took off some small flakes. So now I'm ready. I'm ready to hit in here to hopefully take off some of this extra right here. We shall see. There's a little weird spot that I want to do first, right here. Okay, good. Yeah, you prepare it and then look at it and prepare it, and then when you're ready to go, when you're as ready as you can be, then you take your hit. All right, let's see what we can do here. Okay, good. All right, so here's my area of kind of extra mass. And I prepared this edge and I took a hit and I got that. So I've taken off, I don't know, almost half of it. So my problem. I'm working ahead of I'm working a few steps ahead to get myself out of the problem that I inadvertently got myself into. Okay, that side's looking a lot better. I haven't given you an overview in a while, so I still got a bit of a lip there, but I'll continue to do what I just did in order to work this all down to basically one surface, and hopefully a slightly convex one. This side, nice is nice. It is slightly convex. Flakes should travel well. We'll try one right here. How about this? See this ridge? So we got ourselves a low spot. We got this ridge. What else do I need to do? Pop quiz. I need to make sure that this edge isn't too pointy so that when I hit it, it doesn't just crush. So what I'm gonna do is just take a couple little tippy, little small flakes off. Nothing serious, but I just made this point a little bit more blunt, right there. I just made that a little bit more blunt if you look at it from this way. I'll braid it, and then I'll hit it. So hopefully you're seeing that you don't just hit wherever you want. You've got to know a handful of things about the stone and how it behaves, and set up your shots. Okay? So it like travel along those ridges. So let's give this a go. Well, it did, but it ended kind of early. That's on me. Basically, I needed to hit a little further in. Not this far, but a little bit further in. So I did end up crushing that a little bit and then ended kind of abruptly. It's not a disaster, but it's a demonstration of, something I could have done better. No huge deal, no disaster, but I basically was off by a fraction of an inch, a little further into the stone, so the force would have carried farther. That's hard to control. Little things like that are, you up. And there's a lot of little things. Just taking some small hits here and there where I've got weird spots or just sort of opportunities that just have to be sitting there. But I can start to feel like this is going to be the point. In which case, I got a lot of mass up there that I should down. And since I got this nice slanted edge right here, I'm in a good position to do so. This might be a little big. So I'm going to switch to this one. It's a little smaller. Oh, and just so you have a sense, these are all of the copper boppers that I have. And basically you want to apply force that's proportional to the amount of material that you're trying to take off. So if I started working on this again, this is and I use this, I think you can guess what would happen. Well, I have an unfortunate show and tell. This was a piece I was working on. It was going very nicely. Boop. So this is part of the game right here. This happens. It's a little heartbreaking every time. If you don't have a lot of those under your belt, I'm not sure how far you'll get. It's just part of it. I lied to you. I used the big one anyway. After all that teaching and preaching, I went ahead and used the big one. This is still a big chunk of rock, so either one of them would probably be okay. But you see, I was only raising my hand about that high. It wasn't like wham. I wasn't really. I am going to switch now. Slightly smaller one. Just more. Especially if you're working just on the end, you've got to be very mindful. And especially as they get thinner. If you hit on the end, you send a shock wave through the stone. And stone doesn't bend. It just breaks. So if you're hitting the end, you need to make sure it's very well supported. Don't use more than necessary. So that is a lesson that I appear to need to relearn every week or so. And you as a reminder to myself more than anything. Nice, just some small flakes off here, some of this extra mass. Now I'll move over to this side. Yeah. I'll show you that one if we haven't done that in a while. So, bam. That was an interesting one. I kind of came at that from the side. Will I be able to put that back? Yes, sort of. So I had this little flat area there. Rather than hitting in here, I came at it from this way. So I kind of had an opportunity. I had a choice there, like which way to come at it. And I chose this way because you can direct the flake by the direction of the force. So I thought it would carry along that edge a little bit, and it did. So that worked out. Okay, so it's starting to take a more regular form. This side is nicely convex. The problem is still just barely there, but not as big of a deal. I'll continue to take flakes off this way, get rid of it. It's starting to get more straight. Found those areas of extra mass and taken them off. So it's starting to line more straighter. From this angle, starting, I don't know if I can get that to show well, but hopefully you can see that it's looking like a lens. Starting to look like a lens, which is what we, I mean, this is what's going to happen, like, even when the piece gets thinner, you're able to look straight down the end, it should look like a lens. I got some extra mass in here and a small step fracture, so I'm gonna work on getting that off. Switch back to my big tool. I'm gonna trim, well, actually briefly, I'm gonna switch to a smaller one to change where the edge is. Small little hits. Just to make these little flakes. So I'm hitting from the top, and that's popping them off the bottom side, so that I can change where that edge is. And all of that, when I flip it, this is now lower. This line right here is lower. The terminology for that is we want to be hitting below the center line. That means if you can picture a line running straight through this thing, like right through this way, through the middle, we want this edge that I'm going to hit to be below that. Yeah, I think that right there. So this point is below the center. Not a lot, but below. Once again, I'm abrading to make this edge stronger so that when I hit it, the force will carry through and along. So this is, I got a nice low spot right here. So I'm going to go for that. Here we go. It broke into a bunch of pieces, but it made this right. Can you see that? All the way across. Actually, I think it's two lining up, but it is possible to shoot flakes all the way across. So I think it's meeting up with one that came from here. But a really good flake can go. It can go too far, too. Sometimes it goes all the way across and then takes out a big chunk on the opposite side. Hey, Carissa, how you doing? Good to see you again. Okay, should we do the pencil thing? Why not? All right, where am I going to hit? I'm going to go for in here. I mean, this is the real low spot. Yeah, we'll go for the low spot. So I'll make a dot, show you about where I'm going to hit. Can you see that dot? It's actually going to be a little closer to the edge. I just want you to be able to see it clearly. And then I expect a flake that's something like that, more or less. Certainly not exact. I'm going to take a little flake right here to start with so that that piece of stone doesn't get in. Just going to take a little one right there. Okay. So now there. Hopefully there. Braid the edge again. I'm gonna pick the tool because I want to hit this kind of hard. There we go. The piece broke in, the flake broke into 1,000 pieces, but it took off this. Didn't get all the way out to this edge. That's fine. It's pretty approximate when you do that. Unless you've got like a really well-defined ridge, it's gonna vary a little bit, but now I can do it again right here. Once again, braid edge. Pick the big tool, board it really well, and hit it. Ready? Perfect. That's awesome. That was a good flake. That was good. It leave a little bit of a little bit of a ridge at the opposite side right here. It's very shallow, and when I take flakes off from this way, it'll take those right off. This is less good, right here. We'll see how I handle that. The problem is, I should explain, that's called a step fracture. And the problem with that is, first of all, it's ugly. Second, if I try to take another flake from this direction, if I hit up here, flake down here, and it runs into that, if the force of my hit runs into this ridge, there's a good chance that the force will stop, it'll break, and just make that deeper. So they're just, you know, digging a hole for myself, proverbially and literally. And you don't want that. So I'm gonna have to do this and figure out how to deal with it. But it's not terrible, and I've still got a lot of width to work with here, so I don't need to fret too much about it yet. But I need to be mindful of it and make sure I don't make it worse. That's the biggest thing. Taking some flakes from up here. Kind of nice. I see that like nice long one. This one ran right next to it. It's really good at this, can make patterns with the flake scars. I can't. Not many. Not well. Definitely not my priority. But I could run into a similar problem here. I've got a bit of a low spot and some right here that I'd like to knock off. But this line from my earlier issue, it could happen. If I hit this way, the force going that way could stop right there and make that deeper. So I need to be careful about what I do. Even though I really want to hit that, I think I need to move over here and address more of that line first, just to play it safe, just to be safe. I'm keeping an eye on that, and then on the other side I'm keeping an eye on this line. Got to be careful around that, got to be careful around that. Everything else looks pretty good. Now this one, the one I just made, there's a chance that I could hit a flake off from here, drive it all the way to there. It's a long flake. I'm not positive. I'm not super confident in that, so I don't think I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna hit from that anyway. Braid. But that is often what you need to do to fix such problems, is take a flake all the way from the other side. That was a good one. So I hit there, took that guy off. Nice. Oh, did I bring, I don't know if you folks tuned in the last couple of days, but I made an arrowhead out of the bottle. I made a couple. Let's see. I can't remember if I brought them out. Well, here's the one from 2 days ago. That's from the bottom of a beer bottle. I thought I brought the other one too. I guess not. Shoot. I made one out of blue glass last night. And it turned out pretty well. That's archived if you want to check that out. I show you how to break the bottom out of the bottle, and then I really only use 2 tools. So my thought is, if you want to get into this, that might be the way to go, because you don't need many tools and you don't need to buy special rock. You can do it with glass. So just thought I'd add in there. Check out the archived live streams from yesterday and the day before if you want to see those. And I'm thinking a long form video about how to make this, and then like a homemade version of the pressure flaking tool. So if you have these two things and some kind of scrap of leather, you could make glass arrowheads. I'm wondering, what do you folks think? Would that be a good video? I can show you like how to go to the hardware store and get what you need to make this and this, and then the technique, an abbreviated version of the technique necessary to make glass arrowheads. So you just need to find some bottles that are going to get thrown out or recycled. You know, this could be used as an arrowhead. It could also be wire wrapped or something and made into a pendant. Guess earrings if. But yeah, let me know if you think that would be a good video. I think it would be a good one because it's a really, well, it's an inexpensive way to get into flint knapping. And I think that's a barrier for some people. And if you can do it with junk, a few bucks worth of hardware store stuff and bottles that are going to get recycled, well, that's a pretty way to do it. I think that might be cool. Let me know what you think. Be helpful. Get some early input on that idea. Just trimming up the edge a little bit. It helps to make you feel more in control and kind of helps you survey where things are irregular and in need of attention. So not an absolutely necessary step, but sometimes I stop and will do it for a minute just to help myself evaluate, like, okay, pretty straight edge. Oh, look, there's a bit of a mass there. Oh, look, I've left some cortex down here. You know, it's just a way to evaluate. It just gives you, it's like sweeping up around your project so you can say, okay, where am I? Like, how's this coming? Just a chance to take a breather and evaluate your progress. Because if you just go on autopilot forever, it's possible that you zone out and take away more than you meant to, or didn't stop to say, okay, what is this thing? What is this going to be? What shape do I need? And it's that kind of like forethought and visualization that helps you meet your own design. You know, I don't have a sketch to go by, right? So I need to stop and say, okay, all right, be like this. All right, you know, so it's just a way to evaluate what you've got going on. Look for extra mass, look for problems, things that you've been avoiding. Decide how you're going to fix them. So many metaphors for life. Oh my God. Am I right? Zen and the art of flintknapping. Right, so I've struck that edge, and that's helped me to see this, my hands are kind of blocking it, this bump right here. Like, oh, yeah, that's gonna need to go. Okay, good, yeah. I should think about that. I'll probably do that soon. What about this side? I've still got that thing, but I'm closer to it now, so I could start to think about taking it off by running a flake this way, behind it. Maybe that's something I'll do soon. So it's just a slow down and evaluate as you move on to the more refined stages. I'm sure as you get better at this, you won't need to do this, but for me, it's good to slow down and to kind of come up with it and just take stock of how things are going. Slightly smaller tool now. Took off some flakes up on this side. Okay. All right. Now that extra mass, it's this peak right here. If I look at my edge though, so I of course need to hit from the opposite side. This edge, it's hard for me to get this at the right angle. It's too high. There's my peak. There's my, it's too high up. So I'm going to take some flakes going this way instead. I'm not only working my way closer to that extra mass, but I'm also changing the line, the edge, and so that it's lower. And then I'm more set up to take that off. And this is also a little more blunt. So, a little bit more, and then I'll be in a situation to kind of go for it. Yep, okay. I'm going to abrade it. So there's my extra mass, this little bump right here where my finger is. This is the edge I set up for it. And I'm going to hit right on the other side of it. I'm going to break out the bigger tool again. I'm actually going to mark it so that I really know where I want to hit. Right there. Made a little line. I don't normally do that, but I do not want to be too far one way or the other this time. Normally it doesn't much matter, but this time I kind of want to get it just so. Okay. So I took off that flake, boom. So this was my line, right into it, and now this is sort of an even surface. just a tiny little ridge, nothing to worry about. But a mass right here, but now it's kind of independent of that one. I've just got a little remnant of it right here. And it's sort of the shallow side, so I'll probably be able to take that from the side there. So that, it wasn't like a silver bullet, but it was pretty good. Here we go. I just took that one. Boom. If a moment ago when I held it like this, there was a point. That extra mass was in here. It's gone. Now this is really starting to take on a lens shape if we look at it from the end. That's what we want. That will allow us to make long flakes from any side. So I've more or less that deep hinge fracture. I guess I could take a flake right here just to clean that up some. But then that'll flake will be a thing of the past. I can move on to that little step that I've got on the other side. Good. So that little weird bit right here, boom, it's gone. So I've pretty much taken care of that hinge that I made early on. But you see how long that took? I kept it in the back of my mind that whole time. And worked my way up until, you know, the perfect time to go after it. Now I've got that other one. This is a smaller issue, but I don't want it to turn into a big, this thing. What I may try to do is hit an angled flake. So if I'm hitting, you know, from this side, I may direct it like this, that the force goes this way and takes this with it. I think that edge needs to be lower. Yep. All right, the edge opposite it is a little lower now. I'll grind a little more there. Okay, now I'll grind it. And I'm going to direct it in the same line along this. So I'm going to angle it. There's the crack, or the step. I'm going to angle it like this so that my blow is going to be on that same line. I got it. So here's that line. My hinge, or yeah, my little step fracture was right here, and the flake took it right off. Yay! Yay! Good. Good, good. So this biface is coming along. This started off as just a big chunk like this, and we've made it thinner, and we've given it a regular shape. It has an edge that runs down the center. It's a lens shape from the ends. Depending on your needs or the point in prehistory that you're talking about, they might have stopped right here, because this could be used as a hand axe. I want to make something longer, thinner, fancier, but this would serve for some very crude tasks. Rough chopping, cutting. You know, if I was to grab a big bundle of grass fibers or something, go shh, this would cut them fine. Green wood, I could chop into green wood with this. I could butcher an animal, or at least the big parts already with. And so this is not unlike what they find for Homo erectus, or you know, Homo heidelbergensis, some of the early members of our genus. You know, they were making tools that ranged from, you know, something like that, to more like that. So for a long time, this was the goal. If you're a primate out there surviving on your own, you don't have claws, you don't have big teeth, you need something to cut with. And for a long time, it would be something like that, or like that. It's kind of crazy, huh? But if you think, imagine yourself in some sort of random survival situation, and you don't have anything, just your clothes, or not, maybe not even, but let's say you got your clothes. Well, to do some tasks, if you need to cut some wood or cut anything, this is a whole lot better than nothing. A whole lot better. I mean, many, many times better. And so for a long time, this is all that they were going for. And they find these in the archaeological record going way back. Usually called a hand axe. Take a little bit on this end here where it's a little fat. Stone tools were our main tools for the vast majority of human history. I mean, I say it like every time. It blows my mind. It's hard to understate the importance of stone tools. We may not use them much anymore, but at one point, it was the best thing toolkit. If you asked early members of our genus to go grab the best tool you have, the best around tool you have, they'd go grab something like this. As animals, we're just not that well set up to manipulate, to cut things, break things. We're small and weak, don't have the big teeth, don't have the claws. And so this took the place of all that. This took the place of strength and claws and teeth and speed. This and the knowledge of how to use it, I should say. Because obviously, if you've just got a rock and you don't know what to do, you're not much better off. But they were resourceful and had figured out what to do with these tools. They could do a lot with them. The good old... I encourage you to look them up online and see how long that this is like one of the main tools in human history. We didn't have metal until pretty recently in human history. Metal was a big advance, but it's a newcomer to the game. Can you get your head around it? That we wouldn't be here if our ancestors figured out how to make this? I think that's a pretty fair statement. Just based on the fact of how many we found in association with fossil hominins. They can bones on those sites with cut marks. indicating that these were used for butchering. They had other tools. And some of those tools didn't survive the process of, they didn't fossilize. Stones don't need to fossilize. So these are overrepresented in the archaeological record. Even so, their presence over the course of such a vast amount of time, vastly, even different species, tells you that this was essential. Essential. Crazy. It's crazy. You can't make this. The weirdness down here. I don't think I'm going to stress out about that just yet. It's not very deep, and I've always got this from the end to try and correct it. So I've got options there that aren't super challenging, which is nice. So I don't need much of a plan. I just need to keep it in mind and know that it's there and know that I've got to deal with it at some point. Well, it looks like I'm sort of trimming my way to it right now, but I don't think I'm going to try and take that off just yet. Hopefully by now you have some sense for what I would do. I need to take this off, right? So we know I'm going to be hitting from this side. So I need to set up a sloped edge. Oh, look, it already is. I can try and take a flake right there to knock that off. So at this stage, I mean, you could call this a hand axe, you could call this a biface. All that means it's been worked on two sides, biface, two faces. So I've worked it on this side, all these edges, and this side. It's a biface. There's that undulating edge that's typical of stones that have been worked by. So, you know, depending on you're trying to replicate, what you're trying to use, you know, this is already a hand axe, a viable hand axe. I could blunt all this edge so that when I hold it comfortable, and I could use it for chopping like this, or like this, slicing like this. Or this could just be viewed as this is also typical of kind of things that people would produce at the quarry sites. So if you didn't have good stone right in your immediate area, you might travel to an area that did have good stone. And then rather than carrying giant boulders away, or even something like this, I mean, this weighs easily 10 times this. And so even if you don't know precisely what to do with this, this can be turned into all kinds of stuff, but it doesn't have an extra on it. This is still just a big heavy rock. So you could carry 10 of these for every one of these. So go climb at the quarry and nap down to this point and stash that away and take that with you to either make into tools later or to cache somewhere maybe move around seasonally with your group. You could put a bunch there for later, or you could trade it. This would be valuable. We come upon another group that has something that we don't have. We could say, hey, how about you give me some of that and you can. So it's another reason that we might have found so many. I mean, it might be a bartering token. I won't call it money, but an item to trade, you know, so something of inherent value that you could trade for other things. So it'd be good to have extras around. You want them for tools yourself, for the people that you know and care about, but you could carry some extras and trade it for plant fiber, food, meat, help, You know, you could, who knows? Who knows? Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing to think of? That a piece of rock shaped like so, it was probably a prime pieces of a toolkit, and also a means for getting other things from people who had different stuff. In all likelihood, they had, you know, symbolic value as well. I would just be guessing that, but given how important they are, not unreasonable to speculate about that. So this isn't terribly thin yet. Definitely keep working this. You know, work it down to something like that, which is kind of set up to be a knife. Just wrap this handle with leather, or just keep working it down to smaller spear point, knife. I mean, it's really big for an arrowhead, but you know, any type of cutting tool or pointy tool. Itself, the material, and you know, the initial stages done. I hope this has been fun and interesting for you. Not a lot of questions from the gang this time. That's fine. But I do this regularly, usually at about this time of day. Get on here and I make stone tools, talk about them, take your questions. I'm happy to do that. I'm thinking about doing some other topics, so let me know if there's things you'd like to see. Stay tuned for a long form video coming up in the next couple days about this mysterious object. I've set up a Patreon account if you want to send me a little support. Check out the descriptions of the video. If you can, great. No problem. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I appreciate your time and your likes and your shares and your comments. And I hope you'll check out the rest of my channel. It's Doug North, Dugnorth, Doug North. And until the next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day. And take care of yourselves, take care of others, and I'll see you again soon. All right. Till next time, folks.